Question number 4, Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Building and Housing. Did he consult Auckland iwi on his plan to use vacant government-owned land for private housing developments before he made the announcement on May 21st?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, my ministry met with the Tamaki Collective, representing 13 Auckland iwi and hapu, about a month before the budget on the 23rd of April to outline the proposed Auckland Crown land housing program and some of the sites that were under consideration. Consultation is not specifically required under the policy, as the Tamaki Collective Redress Act passed by this Parliament last year specifically makes provision in section 136 for government selling Crown land for housing purposes.
Supplementary question, Penny Henare.
To the Minister, did he consult the Treaty and Negotiations Minister and or the Minister of Māori Development on whether not offering surplus Crown land to iwi under the first right of refusal would expose the government to judicial review that could completely overturn his budget housing policy?
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the entire Parliament was consulted on the policy because the 2014 Tamaki Collective Act, voted by members opposite, specifically makes provision for land owned by the Crown to be used for housing purposes and not being subject to the right of first refusal. In respect of my colleague Chris Finlinson, he's a member of the Cabinet and was part of the budget decisions relating to Crown land.
Supplementary question, Penny Henare.
To the Minister, does he think that deliberately cutting out iwi of Tāmaki Makaurau so he can do a deal with the Australian property developers is consistent with the Crown's obligation under the treaty settlements to act in good faith?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I can only read to the member section 136 of the Tamaki Collective Redress Act, titled Disposals for State Housing Purposes, and it specifically says that the Crown can sell land and dispose of it to support the Crown's social objectives in relation to housing or services related to housing, a bill that was voted upon by every member of this Parliament.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why did it take his office 10 days to handpick the 30 hectares of clean sites for his media stunt mystery bus tour out of the 500 hectares that he promised? And can he confirm that his refusal to release the full list of 500 hectares is down to the damage that it would cause his collapsing housing policy and his crumbling reputation?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I know the member was very jealous that he wasn't able to come around Auckland and see the thousands and thousands of houses that this government is building. I'd also note that in the most recent building consent figures coming out on Friday, we're now building 8,000 homes a year in Auckland. That's double the number of just 3 years ago, and I can't help the fact that members jealous of the progress this government's making on the issue.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Does he recognise this quote from the latest Metro magazine as an accurate description? No matter what he took over, it would never take long before it would look as though things really were a complete shambles.
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I draw attention to this House that 3 years ago one of the real challenges we had was housing issues in Christchurch. I haven't had a single question from that member on Christchurch housing issues because we're on top of the problem, and that member has not been on the ball to be able to challenge those.
Question number 5, the Honourable